Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of our Conversations with Founders. I wish we had a snappier title, but we don't, so we're going to run with it.
Sometimes literal just feels like a breath of fresh air, you know?
Right. So Sarah Sides, Hannah Wedeking here, founder. Sarah's founder of both LoveWeld and PJS, and I'm on the PJS side. And I'm really excited to be chatting with you again, Sarah. I think there are a couple topics kind of on my mind that I thought maybe we could dive into. And then, of course, wherever the conversation goes, we will follow. We had a big team meeting yesterday on the LoveWeld side, all getting ready for holiday and all things prep for this big season. And so I know on the LoveWeld side, you are in full steam ahead, getting ready for the holidays with your team. So I diving kind of right into that. What are some of the things that you and your team think about in preparing for the holidays, or maybe even going broader of like, how do you approach a year for LoveWeld? So maybe let's start with, how do you prep with the holidays? And then we can go from there.
Holidays are a big deal, right? Like it's kind of like Super Bowl time in the jewelry industry and the permanent jewelry industry as well. And so there's a lot of thought that comes into it from LoveWeld's standpoint. So one is product assortment, like what are we selling for the holidays? So really honing in on our best sellers annually, and then also bringing in newness, bringing in excitement, bringing in things with gift in mind. One thing that has been really important for LoveWeld is, how do you gift an experience, right? And so we're always thinking of ways for people to gift the permanent jewelry experience in a way that's exciting and has the excitement of opening the opportunity to do the experience. So like, what is the packaging of that gift card? Or is it a piece that's class that can be welded later, right? So how can they open the LoveWeld experience, the permanent jewelry experience? And then, so that's also a focus on our product. So product is a big one. That one comes first, right? Because then everything else falls in line after that. So then you have your creative. So we do photo shoots, and those are built around like, what are our major sales campaigns that we're going to do for holiday. And so there's that piece. And then we have 50 plus welders that are activating all these things. So we have to do the training, roll it out, get everybody to see the vision and get excited alongside us with holidays. So those are some of the things we do to prepare for holiday. Those are actually things that I love. That's been my world. I've been in product development and creative the majority of my career. And so it's really fun. I love the preparation for holidays. That's where the majority of my work is. For LoveWeld is always preparing to go to market. And so, yeah.
Awesome. So that's a great kind of insight into what LoveWeld, which is, this national retailer that has it's set up for retail, all those sorts of things. What if you were talking to a fellow permanent jewelry entrepreneur, business owner that maybe is operating as a pop-up only business, or is operating in a kiosk within another store? What would be like, let's say, the top 2 or 3 things to focus on in preparation for the holiday season?
And I've been that person, right? So I've done permanent jewelry on small scale. I've done it on big scale. So it's similar type concepts, just like maybe the language or to what degree you go into might change. So one thing that definitely I would have been looking through and continue to look through is if I don't have a storefront, right? It's what are going to be my venues for selling for holidays. So I would be booking those holiday markets. I still have team members that do pop-ups with their own jewelry lines. Like they really go hard from Thanksgiving to end of year about just getting in front of people. So that's that piece. And Love World still does this too, is events, like private events, like so home parties, corporate parties, all of that. So talking about that, maybe you have your little black book of customers and clients that like maybe have a small business or a charity or something they like to do, and like now's the time. So even here in Albuquerque where I live, like my kids go to an elementary school, and I have welded some of the PTA people here and my kids' school, and they've wanted to do a charity event. And so that was something we talked about 6 months ago, and we're now doing it in December for holidays because now is the time. So, it's people are in that gathering jewelry consuming time frame of mind. So it is an opportunity to circle back to people that maybe were a no in September when they're busy with back to school, or in the summer when they're traveling and doing their vacations. Like I do think holidays are this magical time of people saying yes to permanent jewelry. So I would go and dig and circle back to those leads that maybe had gotten a little warm or cold earlier on in the year. And then pop-up markets are easy. You just sign up, and show up. So that's nice. Those can be a little more hit or miss because you're competing with a ton of other vendors. So I do think I always aim to have a number of private events and market events during holiday, because it's just interesting mix, different ways of showcasing your product. Right. One thing that also is fun in permanent jewelry that could make sense in a holiday is, especially around Thanksgiving, is like maybe promoting like charity pop-ups. Like if you have room and a desire in your heart to do a give back tied in with your sales, like you could do 15-20% of like give back for all sales for a charity pop-up. So that's a really fun way to kind of activate your business during holiday season. So definitely places to sell. That's most important, right? Because if you buy the product, if you market, but you don't have a venue to be selling your product, then that can be defeating. So definitely looking at that. And you might need to market to get that, right? And that can be as simple as putting out an email to your email people, reaching out to local businesses that have been on your eye, or even going and visiting them in person, I think is very powerful. Yeah. So definitely book your venues. And then from there, product planning, product line. There's a high likelihood that you will have repeat clients during holiday season. So we see that a ton at Love World. We always have, from when we were small to when we were big. And this is when people who loved and enjoyed their experience with you, they're going to be thinking about, I want to bring in my friends and family too. So it's really important to not only be thinking about the new customer, but the repeat customer during the holiday season. So I do encourage to look into bringing something new, something special to talk about in the holiday season to really visually grab those new customers or those repeat customers that have seen you before, and give them a reason to come back, right? So that is important thought in product planning. Making sure you're stocked well in your best sellers is a great way of product planning. What's nice about knowing your venues and having that booked is you can begin to understand about how much inventory you'll need. And I know PJS has tools and stuff about how to do assortment planning, pricing, all of that. So check that out. We go into a lot of depth for that. But there's that piece. And we also have tools on like how to book an event, right? So I think both of those tools are very important for preparing for holiday. And we go in much more depth than what I shared. And the team experts that drive that for Loveweld talk about that. And so there's that piece. And then get ready to get behind the camera, get on social, talk about your business, showcase your product, showcase your experience. If you've never tested a targeted in your geographical area an ad on Meta, might be worth trying. I wouldn't put a ton of money towards it. Even Loveweld, when we test a new ad, we just put like maybe $200 behind it to see how it'll do. So I'm not talking about don't go put $5,000 on a Meta ad campaign, but you might want to test it and see, guys. So I think those are all great things to be
Let's take a step back too, because I think, we've had a webinar on getting ready for holiday. We put out our new education series, Learn from the Pros, to kind of get people ready. And I think the permanent jewelry industry as a whole is definitely getting more experience, but not everybody like us comes from the background that we do. So Sarah and I both come from a background of retail. We were born into it, not jewelry, but we're born into retail. And as much as we have tried to get away, we have come back to it.
Maybe you tried to get away. I've always
I've tried to get away. And it's because I think I realized how special it is in so many ways. But I digress. So kind of so we have the experience of being able to see, at conversations at the dinner table, it would be like, how is work today? And our dad would say, well, it's August, so it's hot. So we, everything's kind of slow. So we were very quickly indoctrinated into the language of seasonality within retail. And so I think one of the things that maybe we take for granted a little bit is just knowing that seasonality.
Intuitive. Yeah, it's an intuitive.
When we say seasonality, what we mean is there are in the shopper psychology of our culture in America, there are natural fluctuations in when people are wanting and willing to spend money. So even down to things like when tax returns are filed, that when people get their refunds,
busy season,
they're gonna want to spend it. Or when school starts, maybe people are busy getting back into the swing of things, have invested in getting their school kids ready for school. They're not going to want to be spending as much. And so can you speak to seasonality of what you've experienced both in the permanent jewelry world and just maybe the retail environment as a whole?
Yeah, so seasonality is very, very interesting. Loveweld, having been a pioneer in a new space, a trending space, an emerging space, seasonality was something that we always looked at and kind of thought about because it is traditionally within retail from the origin, but we actually really didn't see true seasonality play out until about 2 years ago, right?
And before you continue, I do want to point out that I think I've experienced in the permanent jewelry environment in groups, hearing from our customers, almost like not a panic, but just like a temperature check of, is this going away? And I think what we're seeing is that permanent jewelry was incredibly trendy for, 2020, 2021, coming out of COVID. And maybe we're seeing that the like on fire ness of like permanent jewelry subsiding a little bit and then falling into the natural rhythms of
retail and consumerism, right? And you're dead on, Hannah. It's one of those, like, because it was so hot, right? The boo-boos are hot right now, right? Like, so like the boo-boo is not experiencing retail seasonality, right? Because it's a hot topic. Yeah. but someday they will, right? Or maybe their marketers will keep them on a high forever, but my best guess is someday it will experience seasonality.
Yeah.
And so that said, trend does kind of distort numbers, it distorts things. From our data and research, like, so we're able to pulse through some of our ads in kind of digital keeping, like the desire and hunger for permanent jewelry, so how much people are seeking it, that hasn't gone down. What's happened is that there's just more different offerings of permanent jewelry. So like in a geographic area where it was one person offering permanent jewelry, like when I first started, people would drive from Kansas to Texas to come get permanent jewelry because we were the closest, right? And so it's now not, I don't think oversaturated, but it is more saturated, right? And so that plays into it and gives someone a sense of like, oh, there's not an endless amount of clients, right? So, but now we are seeing seasonality in Love World. We've seen it for a couple of years now. So that's, in some ways, it's really nice. It's because it's easier to plan for and understand and track. And for anyone who has been in the permanent jewelry industry for over a year now, and they're starting to see like month over month sales. So like you could have the ability to look at your October from last year and see how you did. You can begin maybe to see some of your seasonality if your business is operating in a similar way that it was last year, right? So there's ways that, especially as a kind of entrepreneur, solopreneur, that you can greatly alter your seasonality, whether it's like, oh, I only did house parties last year and now I've thrown in also doing markets, or oh, now I actually have a storefront, so that's going to look different than a market. But all of that to say, I do think the way the consumer is looking at permanent jewelry is more on a seasonal basis, right? And they're falling into that. So that means, you know, mid-November to end of the year is probably going to be really big for most permanent jewelry owners. And then January might be a little quieter. And then a spike in February for Valentine's Day. And you can Google like retail trends and seasonality, and you could do it specifically for jewelry too. And I would say probably the majority of permanent jewelry businesses are falling more in that curve of like high sales in peak summer, and then it drops when back to school happens in early fall. Yeah.
So I think that's really important to keep in mind, especially if you've been in the permanent jewelry world for more than, let's say, 2 years, or even just getting started. Maybe like
maybe you just got started in August and you're like been really sad, and I'm like, well, you started at a hard time, so like, get through Christmas and then make a decision of whether or not permanent jewelry is your thing, right?
And so taking those, you know, I feel like it's almost like a wave, right? Like it's you're in the high curve in the holiday, and then you come down into a trough. And rather than, I think one thing that is really important is to not be discouraged by the troughs, right? That it's not necessarily you. And of course, things affect seasonality as a whole, right? So like there are things that are out of control that will affect the entire economy, right? And we've seen that with tariffs and things like that. And that throws the seasonality maybe a little bit, but by and large,
it has not altered Love World's seasonality curve this year. I do think it might affect how high or low that curve goes. Just from, and I think different businesses are different. Like, but I will say, you hear so much about the macro, and I do know it's impacting the Love World brand. But what's interesting is just an interesting note is that it hasn't impacted our seasonality this year. The curve has actually been 100% parallel this year, which is very interesting.
That is interesting. And so just take heart in that, almost of like, okay,
it's art, not a science, right? Like these are things that help us understand the business and like keep a pulse and like plan inventory and things like that. Yeah.
So I think, I mean, we've spoke to how to prep for the holidays so much, which I think is really helpful, especially if you've haven't done it before, or you've only done it a couple of times. How do I get ready for inventory? But almost like, can you speak to how, as a business owner, you get ready for the trough, for like the January?
For the October?
Yeah, for the October, for the the leading up to the top of that wave. What are some things that you think about that might be encouraging to some of our followers and customers?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I think as much as there is preparation for holidays, it's a different type of preparation for the trough, right? And so I probably won't get too in specific on like what Lovewell does, because I think Lovewell is a fast-growing startup. So it's like I feel like it's a very unique way that we get ready for the trough. But I think what I could talk about is what I think are important for businesses to be in to have a discipline in all the time, so that they do the best that they can in a trough, and then it really sets them up for success in the peaks. And this is something that I think is easy to forget in the highs and the lows, or to get distracted from, or to vary away from. And it's just like, how can you be showing up your best on a day-to-day basis, whether you have one client or whether you have 20 clients come in and experience your services, right? And I think that discipline of showing up for the one to the same degree that you would show up for the 20. Actually, sometimes the 20, it's harder to show up for the 20 in the way that you do for the one, because you're busy. But like, what I mean is like offering excellence no matter what time it is. Like, and that's something that we really, really focus on the Lovewell brand, and I actually think is a huge part of our success. It's not that we have a really good holiday marketing campaign. I think that helps, but it's that when people come into our doors, we are always aiming to improve, to give them the best hospitable permanent jewelry experience that we can offer within our capacity. And that's been since day one. That's been like showing up at markets. We aim to do that. We aim to please, to surprise and delight our clients, whether it's just how we engage in conversation, right? Which goes a long way. Like, you can have horrible displays. You can have not the best product. I always believe your product should be good. You're talking to a product person, so it always should be high quality. If you're seeing pieces break, if you're seeing stuff that you're disappointed in and the quality over time, or you have maybe you're not disappointed, but you're seeing a trend of customers being disappointed in the quality, get rid of it. Like, find something different. And I do think there is a world in permanent jewelry where if you depreciate your quality so much, it will shorten the lifespan of your business. I've always thought that. I'm seeing that now. I was actually talking to one of the CEOs of one of the largest, he's retired, largest jewelry companies in the world the other day. And he actually has a mixed view on permanent jewelry, because there's so much bad permanent jewelry out there, where the quality is poor and people are disappointed. Guys, do you know that over 25% of my repair appointments are not Lovewell product? It's from people not following through with their own ability to do customer service. And so they're coming into our doors, and people have overpaid for poor quality product, and they're disappointed in it, and they're coming to us to get it fixed. And so I see that a lot. I see also a lot people coming in and getting a love weld and cutting off product that they received from someone else because it was tarnishing. The quality was poor. And then when they get a love weld on, they're like, oh, this is, and like the number of times welders have cut off competitors' products, and then that person's now loyal love weld, and they're not going back to that competitor. And I'm sharing this with you guys because it's so important. Like, we're going out of permanent jewelry being a trend. It's still a trend, but being like, I'll pay whatever price for whatever quality, right? And we're seeing that on the wholesale side. We're seeing that on the consumer side. The permanent jewelry consumers getting educated. Many of them are getting educated by bad experience versus good experience. And so for someone preparing for the highs and lows of their permanent jewelry, and if they're in it for the long haul, like I am at Love Weld, I would say aim to be the best in your customer service, in your product, in your table where you're offering. Aim to be the best that you have within your means, right? Like, I'm not saying go.
Well, I think so much of it is about creating right expectations for your customer, right?
Yeah.
Like McDonald's, is McDonald's, but you know what you're getting.
And so, you don't pay a premium for
something that's posing to be like a steakhouse steak, right? So it's about creating, and this is what I tell our customers too, because what I think might be a little confusing is Lovewell does pretty much, like, a big portion of their product mix is 14 karat gold. And a lot of our business owners are not able, as much as they would love to invest in that level of inventory. And it's scary to provide a product that,
and you shouldn't day one. Like, right. You most definitely, like yesterday, Lovewell did a $6,000 stack.
Right. Yeah.
Sarah 5 years ago should have no business charging $6,000 for anything that she did, right? Like, so there's
something that you grow into. And so I think one thing that is a part of offering a high quality product is being honest and fair with your product, even if it is gold fill, and eventually it will tarnish. But if the customer is going in eyes wide open and they know what they paid for, then I got what I wanted. I got what I paid for, and I'm so thankful. Yeah. And they'll come back with another one from you. So,
there's part of me. Hannah's heard this pitch, and like, I don't have time or capacity, and have no business of doing this at this time. But I tell Hannah regularly, like, yes, we're in the fine jewelry space. I would love to be able to have a demi-fine permanent jewelry. So we're not talking about like fine's the only way to go, and demi-fine kind of like short-term pieces don't have a place. I would love to be able to creatively build a demi-fine permanent jewelry line that is not Love Weld, right? And that essentially is a lot of what we get to do vicariously through PJS is get to explore that demi-fine space, offer really high quality demi-fine that we get behind, but don't charge for your demi-fine piece what it is for 14 karat. And there's honestly a great opportunity. Not everybody wants something that lasts forever. Like, some people just want a beautiful bracelet for the season that doesn't have a clasp and they had a fun experience. And so if like that's where you are, be really good at that. So be fair in your pricing, right? So look at, and we have ideas of what from our market research demi-fine should be, and we have resources for that. But like, own it. And like Hannah said, be honest about what it is. And that'll go a long way.
Yeah. And I think that's just so important, because I know it is kind of the hot topic that I've seen too, is, you have to have only the highest quality of chain. And I think suppliers are going to start using that as like a marketing thing. But that's, you have to just purchase product, find a supplier that you love, that you trust, that you work with consistently, and stand behind the product, whatever it is, right? Whether it be 14 karat, whether it be gold fill or sterling silver, whatever that might be. And then just create that really clear picture and expectation for your customer. And I think that would be a win-win for everybody. Okay, so I mean, we've covered a lot of really amazing topics today. So
my brain's going. I could talk more. I could talk more. Maybe next one we could do a little more fun. But
I think this is super helpful though, because I
think
something that we take for granted is growing up in retail. And I know some people know it, and I'm not saying it's like exclusive knowledge that we have, but I think
Google this. But yeah,
it's just like seasonality happens, and it's like I do think that thing that you're talking about of even in the low points or the slower points or whatever that is, be the same. It's just like what we're saying in seasonality is the fruit comes a little bit easier in those moments. So it's like you're still the same supplier, you're the same business owner, you run the same customer experience, you have the same quality of product. It's a little easier to sell it in those times of seasonality, of the holidays, the Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, all of those sorts of things. And so you want to be able to like be set up for success in those moments. And so I think that's really important.
Yep.
And you learn. The more you do it, the more you learn. We learn every year.
Every day.
Every day. Every day. So anyways, okay, so we've covered holiday prep, we've covered seasonality, we've talked about quality of experience.
Which I might just get there every conversation we have, because if anybody knows me and Hannah at PJS, like quality or die. I don't know. Like it's just like
I mean it's that's intense, but yes, we agree.
I mean, but I think I feel it that intensely.
Yeah. So we have lots more to discuss in the future, but let's wrap up our conversation today. Sarah, thanks so much for your time, and look forward to talking to you next time.